Hello, dear students. I am Dr. Gunjan Saxena and I am back with another lecture here. Today I'll analyze T.S. Eliot's poem Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock. It is prescribed in the syllabus of BA. At first, here are some important points related to the American English poet T.S. Eliot, who was a poet, an essayist, playwright, and a critic also. He was awarded 1948 Nobel Prize in Literature for his outstanding contribution to present-day poetry. So keep all these points in your mind. In next slide, you will see some necessary points about the famous poem by Eliot. Its original title was Prufrock Among the Women, and the title Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock is ambiguous in itself. You'll see, you can note here. At first sight, the love song gives you the impression of a romantic song, but it is not so. It is not a traditional love song at all. Rather, it is an examination of the tortured psyche of the prototypical modern man. Here, Prufrock is a neurotic character, which T.S. Eliot has explained here. Everything passes, whatever you see in the poem, within his consciousness. He continues to speak to himself all the time, not to any other person. So it would be more appropriate to call this poem an interior monologue rather than a dramatic monologue. So let's start to analyze the poem, as it is very long poem. So I'll try my best to give you the whole main essence of the poem. It begins with an epigraph, you see here, written in Italian language from Dante's poem Inferno, spoken by the character Guido de Montefeltro. This reference sets the tone for the poem as the form of confession, suggesting that Prufrock, like Guido, is trapped in his own personal hell of inaction and self-doubt. Actually, through this character, Eliot tries to show the passivity, inhibition, indecision, despair pervaded on the Boston society. He says in the very beginning, "Let's go then, you and I, when the evening is spread out against the sky." Here, you and I, they're not two persons, rather, they are two inner selves of the speaker. He suggests himself for a visit to salon in order to make a proposal to his beloved. First, he decides the time of visit, then the way of going. The image of patient here becomes objective correlative. That means the speaker's state of mind. This image reveals the desire of inactivity, passivity, which is a part of Prufrock's own personality also. Ether evokes two associations, clinical and romantic. But clinical association suppresses the romantic association because of its anti-romantic image. It also reveals the feeling of sickness and helplessness like an etherized patient. Then he starts to travel mentally, not physically. Try to note it. He starts to travel mentally and passes through the world of restless nights in cheap hotels where he enjoyed unsatisfying sexual relations in the past. The winding streets which led to the place where the decisive question is to be asked. But he hesitates to ask that overwhelming question. Oh, don't ask. What is it? He is not capable to articulate his feelings even to his inner self. What to say of that lady? Here we find self-sympathy also, or you can say auto-irony, deep rooted in the character of Prufrock. Irony is an instrument to express the de-development of the personality, and this de-development implies the splitting of the self into two parts, which you will see in the character of Prufrock. This is the result of acute sense of consciousness. Prufrock is a self-conscious man and is aware of being ridiculed and mocked by others. He knows it very well. That's why he remains unable to convey his proposal till the last. In further lines, you will find this incapability in contrast with women's linguistic manner and shows the hypocrisy of Western society. These lines are: in the room, the women come and go, talking of Michelangelo. This Renaissance artist, Michelangelo, represents the ideal that Prufrock feels he can never reach. The women's casual discussions of such a lofty cultural figure emphasizes Prufrock's social and intellectual insecurities. Now, in this second stanza, which starts with the yellow fog, which, uh, the yellow fog that rubs its back upon the window panes. The fog and smoke, these two images often interpreted as a symbol of Prufrock's own mind, clouded by confusion, hesitation, and paralysis. The fog, which is moving lazily and aimlessly through the city streets, mirrors Prufrock's inability to take decisive actions. The comparison to a cat rubbing its back or muzzle further emphasizes the passivity and evasiveness of Prufrock's thoughts, as he remains stuck in his own indecision. The fog can also be seen in as the symbol of the modern industrial city, evoking a sense of alienation and impersonal urban life, where individuals like Prufrock are lost in the crowd. The last line of this stanza reflects Prufrock's emotional inertia and avoidance of confrontation. Then he says, and indeed there will be time. This echoes the prosody and thematic rhythm of biblical passages. But Eliot uses it ironically to highlight modern man's existential indecision in contrast to the spiritual assurance in the Bible. In fact, repetition of this line reflects his procrastination. There will be time to prepare a face to meet the faces that you meet. An excellent, uh, an excellent line to reveal social mask. Sometimes we all put on a false face to in public, and Prufrock thinks that this artificiality causes anxiety. That's why he wants to avoid it. The words murder and create, you see here in this stanza, they are also emotional extremes. He appears to destroy illusions or emotions and recreating himself. Repetition of time reflects anxious overthinking and leaving apart the main issue. He has forgotten the main issue. He observes even minor details like to lift and drop a cushion on your plate or taking a toast and tea. These are very minor subjects. And here in next stanza, through this character, Eliot endeavors to manifest the general predicament of inhibition. Inhibition, kuntha, which is deep rooted in this modern man. In fact, this poem exemplifies Eliot's definition of poetry. You know that poetry is not an expression of personality but escape from it. And here, Prufrock seems a victim of inferiority complex, skinny appearance with baldness, sense of insecurity, and fear of being judged, especially by women. He utters for this, do I dare disturb the universe? Have you noticed? To propose a lady is equivalent to disturb the universe. He compares his small act of proposing or expressing his love to that lady with heavy image of disturbing the universe. Actually, he is trapped in a world of genteel social rituals, but is paralyzed by his anxieties and inability to connect emotionally or physically with others. Throughout the poem, he appears to be haunted by the realization that time is slipping away. His fear of aging and death is quite apparent in his wavering thoughts. Then he starts to he starts to measure his life in coffee spoons. I have measured out my life with coffee spoons. It suggests it suggests his obsession with monotony and mundanity of existence. Like Duke Orsino in Shakespeare's Twelfth Night, then he appreciates the dying cadence of music. Actually, he is not willing to make decisions outside of his comfortable zone. This is what you can find here. Here in fourth stanza, you will see his failure in romance and longing both. His attraction towards female body is shadowed by anxiety and failure. Eliot evokes the image of a dissected insect pinned to a to display board, twitching helplessly under observation. This is very crucial image which he has given here to explain his own emotions, or you can say internal struggles. It is a brilliant metaphor, I think, for Prufrock's fear of exposure, judgment, and emotional paralysis. By allowing others to put out different versions of himself, Prufrock has extinguished his own self so far, like a cigarette. Cigarette that has burnt itself out on the lips of a smoker, leaving only the butt ends. He remains thinking about women in terms of arms and eyes and bracelets, but he cannot muster his courage to approach her and express his feelings. Reasons behind this lacuna are crippling shyness, insecurity, and inhibition. One thing more to note here, he is constantly questioning himself, and every thought leads to the further hesitation in place of a resolution. Should I then presume, and how should I begin? For a moment, he seems to gather all his powers to begin, but again, he finds himself like lonely, uh, like lonely men in the world, existing only in dusk and smoke. Feeling of escapism comes to him, and he reduces himself to an animal shattered at the bottom of the dark ocean. All such trivial images, you can note here, indicate that the desires to escape consciousness, to retreat into a lower form of life where feeling is not a burden at all. Here, time is personified, and this personification is both seductive and suspicious. And the afternoon, the evening sleeps so peacefully, smoothed by long fingers, asleep, tired, or it malingers. Malingers, pretend to sleep. Here it shows that time is etherized in sick atmosphere. Again, the dilemma dominates him, and he doubts whether he has the courage to propose after such trivial rituals like tea cakes and ice. He knows that his action will be a life changing decision, but he fears the consequences. Why? Because he knows the consequences. And those consequences? That he will be rejected definitely by that lady. In order to describe his own pitiable condition, he uses biblical allusions like wept and fasted, then had brought on a platter, which refers to John the Baptist, who was beheaded for truth telling. But Prufrock underscores his position by saying, I am no prophet, and here is no great matter. Then he personifies death as the eternal footman, a servant waiting to take him away. This image symbolizes his deep fear of death, means abhinivesh. His own inhibition, sluggishness, and anticipation of rejection, all these make him quite nervous to declare, in short, I am afraid. Here he ruminates the importance of his proposal and one-sided love. He is certain that direct communication will not reach any meaningful outcome. He uses cosmic metaphor to express his inability to confess his love and to truly connect with others. He will have to collect all his thoughts, feelings, and existence into one focused gestures, like rolling a ball towards some target. But even then, it will be misinterpreted or misunderstood. When he wishes to be Lazarus, a desire for a resurrection lies there, a return from his current state of emotional death. However, he dismisses his possibility, recognizing that he is not capable of such a transformation. That is not it at all. That is not what I meant at all. So, through this character, Eliot delineates the modern individual's isolation, emotional paralysis, and the deep uncertainty of human relationships in a fragmented world. Here in these lines, Prufrock indecision and existential reflection appear similar to the delay factor in the character of Hamlet. But Prufrock knows he cannot compare himself with Hamlet, as Hamlet has successfully proposed Ophelia but postponed the crisis, while Prufrock remains paralyzed to do so by fear and self-doubt. By comparing himself with Polonius, he reveals his feelings of insignificance and inhibition, of no heroic qualities. He is aware of his own absurdity and social inaptitude, which is evident in his comments on his appearance. I grow old, I grow old. So, in this way, the deep contrast between his inner strife and the triviality of his concern underscores the futility of his desires. Again, the rhetoric question, do I dare to eat a peach, shows his hesitation to expose himself to desire and judgment also. And in the closing line, he refers to mermaids. Mermaids traditionally symbolize seduction, beauty, and unattainable desire. His realization that the mermaids will not sing to him reflects his a kind of resignation to his own inadequacy and failure in love. In place of a triumphant declaration of love, the poem ends on the image of two dreamers lingered in the chambers of the sea, only to be wrenched back by human voices and drowned in unrealized longing. Till end we see that Prufrock, a representative of modern man, leads his life measured in timid revisions instead of bold steps. Hamlet clearly declares the fatal consequences of overthinking, which you will find that very suitable to the character of Prufrock also. Those lines are, thus conscience doth make cowards of us all, and thus the native hue of resolution is sicklied over with the pale cast of thoughts. These are very famous lines uttered by Hamlet himself. Perhaps Eliot tries to reveal the fact through it that the greatest tragedy is not death itself. Try to understand this point, that the greatest tragedy is not the death itself, but lies in never daring to live. किसी ने सही कहा है, कुछ वक्त की देर ही सही, पर उठकर चल पड़ो, यही है जिंदगी. So, this is all from my side. I hope that you'll understand this explanation. Thank you.